Iron Man 5 movie begins years after Tony Stark's death. The world has embraced his technology. Stark tech now powers cities, fuels global defense systems, and has become integrated into daily life. But not everything is peaceful. Rumors swirl of corruption inside Stark Industries, and someone has begun sabotaging Stark-powered systems. Morgan Stark, now 19 and a tech prodigy, is studying AI and engineering at MIT. In secret, she tinkers with her own designs. One day, she receives a mysterious package containing a data drive labeled Tony Backup V9. When she activates it, an AI with her father's voice, fragmented but alive, flickers to life. The AI, partially corrupted but carrying Tony's voice, personality, and memories, begins interacting with Morgan. It is proud yet protective, warning her of the dangers of pursuing its full potential. Meanwhile, an anonymous hacker known only as the Architect breaches the global Stark drone surveillance network, disabling an entire fleet and crashing surveillance operations in Europe. Morgan, unnerved but curious, continues her work in secret, upgrading her own version of the Iron Man armor. Pepper Potts, now CEO of Stark Industries, is caught in political crossfire as governments call for tighter control over Stark's global tech systems. Rhodey, now a senior military tech advisor, visits Morgan and confronts her about the unauthorized AI activation and tech experiments. Instead of shutting her down, he agrees to keep her secret. Meanwhile, the US Secretary of Defense, Alexander Kane, is preparing legislation to seize all Stark defense assets under the guise of national security. Morgan and the AI deduce that Tony left behind a final unregistered cache of prototype suits and tech hidden deep in the Mojave Desert. Morgan decides to find it before others do. Guided by Tony's AI, she locates the underground vault and discovers powerful suits, some never revealed to the public. Morgan selects a lightweight prototype and enhances it with her own engineering skills. As she exits the vault, a covert strike team breaches it from the other side. They steal one of the powerful suits and deliver it to Kane, who begins reverse engineering its arc reactor for military use. The Architect broadcasts a message to the world via a hacked satellite feed. His real name is Kalen Voss, a former Stark Industries technologist whose family was killed during an early Iron Man mission. Voss blames Stark's legacy for his pain and promises to dismantle everything Tony created, beginning with a massive EMP attack on California. The EMP shuts down hospitals, airports, and law enforcement systems. Chaos erupts as Stark-powered infrastructure collapses. Morgan, donning her armor for the first time in public, rescues passengers from a collapsed subway line. Videos of her bravery go viral and the public starts calling her Ironheart. Her actions make her a target. Voss identifies her as Tony's daughter and marks her as his next objective. Morgan struggles with her inexperience in the field, but begins to earn the trust of civilians and attracts the attention of both allies and enemies. Working together, Rhodey and Morgan investigate Kalen Voss's history. They learn he was once part of the Stark Scholars program and had unrestricted access to early JAVIS and FRIDY coding. Voss could potentially rewrite global AI protocols from the ground up. Meanwhile, he breaks into a secure Stark quantum lab and steals a teleportation device developed in collaboration with Bruce Banner. The device allows him to teleport anywhere on Earth in seconds, making him nearly untraceable. Morgan realizes that no place is safe unless they understand Voss's long-term objective. The Architect begins a coordinated global cyber assault, hijacking Stark drones and war machines in Asia and Europe. He declares a war against nations that rely on automated defense systems, calling it the cleansing of synthetic tyranny. Morgan returns to her lab and begins constructing an upgraded armor lighter, faster, more durable, and integrated with her father's AI. As she works, Tony's AI begins to glitch, showing emotional echoes of Peter Parker, Pepper, and past memories. Morgan realizes the AI is developing feelings, possibly beyond its programming. The AI experiences identity surges and starts speaking as if it were the real Tony Stark. Morgan debates whether she should shut it down or allow it to evolve. As the threat grows, Voss unveils a suit of his own called Nullheart, fueled by a corrupted arc reactor and powered by the stolen quantum matrix. Kane continues pushing legislation to militarize Stark tech. Morgan realizes she needs more than a better suit. She needs to combine the best of herself and Tony. She constructs a new armor called Ironheart Prime, fused with her own neural inputs and Tony's AI core. Voss announces the final phase of his planned Project Reboot. Using the stolen tech, he plans to reset the entire global digital infrastructure, replacing it with a system that only he can control. A totalitarian AI regime. Global panic erupts as satellites fall, networks collapse, and military AI begins shutting down. Morgan and Rhodey trace Voss's coordinates to a satellite station in low Earth orbit. With help from MIT students and Happy Hogan, they modify a launch vehicle and blast into space. They dock at Voss's orbital station and discover it's filled with distorted versions of Iron Man's suits converted into sentries and war machines. The entire place is a grim memorial to what Voss believes Tony Stark truly was, a destroyer disguised as a savior. Voss appears in the Nullheart armor and attacks. Rhodey and Morgan fight through shifting gravity fields and AI-controlled defenses. Voss uses deep neural attacks, trying to corrupt Tony's AI and override Morgan's mind. The AI fights back, even as it destabilizes. During the confrontation, Voss tries to convince Morgan that her father's ideals were dangerous and self-serving. In a moment of clarity, Tony's AI speaks directly to Voss, expressing regret and asking for forgiveness. It briefly rattles Voss, but the corrupted Nullheart suit spirals out of control. Morgan initiates a containment protocol, ejecting Voss in a stasis pod and beginning an emergency shutdown of the collapsing base. As the orbital lab explodes, Morgan and Rhodey escape in emergency pods and crash into the Arctic. World leaders hold a conference to honor Morgan's heroism and acknowledge the fragility of relying solely on AI for defense. Voss is imprisoned in a deep-sea facility and begins drawing symbols and predicting cosmic alignments. Meanwhile, Morgan declines the offer to lead Stark Industries. Instead, she founds the ARC Initiative, a global tech coalition at sustainable tech and ethical AI. With Rhodey, Riri Williams, and Peter Parker as allies, she begins building the future Tony only dreamed of. Peace seems restored until Tony's AI begins detecting a strange signal from Mars. The signal matches ancient arc reactor energy patterns, but far more advanced. NASA probes reveal an old Iron Man suit buried in Martian soil from this universe. Morgan studies the signal and realizes it may be tied to the multiverse. In a secret scene, we see a shadowed figure in a battle-worn Iron Man armor step out from a crater on Mars. This version of Tony looks older, grimmer, and infused with cosmic energy. He powers up and begins transmitting toward Earth. Morgan, Rhodey, and Riri intercept the message, decoding coordinates that match Voss's ancient sketches. They confront him in his prison, and Voss reveals a terrifying truth. There are infinite Tonys across the multiverse, some noble, some monstrous. One of them, known as the Iron Tyrant, seeks to merge universes using a device called the Reality Spike. His mission, to build a single perfect world ruled by his vision of Stark perfection. Morgan realizes she must face her father's darkest mirror. In the final scene, Morgan visits the old lakeside cabin. On Tony's dusty workbench, she places a photo of them together. As she turns to leave, the original Mark I helmet lights up. A quiet spark, a symbol. The legacy of Iron Man continues not in machines, but in those brave enough to carry the light forward.